Hello, good morning. I am Mary Preston. I am a therapist and a life coach. I was raised a cradle Catholic, which means I was born into the Catholic religion. My family was Catholic. I went to Catholic elementary school, Catholic high school, and then I moved out and started questioning my beliefs. And now I specialize in religious trauma. So, welcome to what I've been calling secular Bible study. We have been going through the Bible front to back. And although I say that, I realized that I've actually jumped around a little bit. I got really excited about the story of Dinah and then realized that I forgot a couple of stories. So today we're going to do a fun little story. We are using the King James Study Bible. I like this one because it's got notes by the authors, what I'm supposed to get out of this story from a Christian standpoint. So I really enjoy that, seeing what I'm supposed to learn. Using the study Bible, we're going to do the story of the Tower of Babel and Babel. I think it's Babel. So it's a short story. This sounds like a story that a lot of people are familiar with, at least a little bit. It's only like chapter 11, and it's only about 9 verses, interestingly. And so really quickly, let's just summarize the story because I think most people know the story, but we'll just summarize it and then we'll talk about what are we learning from the story of Babel, which I think is the most interesting part. So basically what's happened is the whole earth is of one language and of one speech. So everybody can communicate with each other. And you would think, oh, that's so lovely. We can all communicate. Apparently, no, that is not okay. They said to one another, let's make brick. So they made some brick, they made some mortar, and then they started to build a tower. And they said, let's build a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven. Ooh, trying to reach to heaven. And let us make a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And apparently the Lord came down to see the city and the tower. And he said, the people is one and they have all one language. And now, let's see, it says, now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. And I'm reading this because I'm like, what's his problem? So far, what we have is people all speak the same language and they are making brick and mortar to build a tower. And the tower is going to go real high. I guess they're going to try to get to heaven, which apparently is above us if we go high enough. And then, so the next verse, so that's all that's happening so far. God comes down, he sees this is happening, and he says, let us go down and there confound their language that they may not understand one another's speech. Kind of a dick move, don't you think? He's like, oh, they all speak the same language? No, I'm going to make it so they don't speak all the same language. So he comes down, he scatters the people across the world and changes it so that there's lots of languages. That's it. That's the whole story. The Tower of Babel, which is a very common story that we have read or that you've probably heard, right? It's kind of like a symbolic thing as well, right? I know in the tarot card series, there's a card that is a tower and like a lightning strike hits the tower and people are jumping out of the tower, right? Like, so why is this such a common story? What are we supposed to learn from this? And this is what I find really interesting. So the study Bible authors believe that we should be learning three things from this. Number one, boastful pride in material power is sinful in God's sight. So the theme behind all sin is pride. Pride is something that I feel like I've heard 6 bazillion times in my upbringing, and I'm not really 100% sure how you would define pride when it comes to biblical, like a sinful pride, right? What I took from it was to never be proud of myself. And it seems here that man is relying on themselves to build a high tower, or I don't know, are they thinking that they're better than God somehow in this story? what is it they are saying pride is? If you have an idea on that, I would love for you to comment. Like, what do you think they mean when they're saying pride, right? And again, I am not Christian, so um, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on in the minds of the people who read this, who say this was a terrible thing that these people have done, right? Because that's what we've learned. Like the Tower of Babel is destroyed and we scatter the people and we change all their languages. Like they must have done something wrong in the eyes of God, right? We know, I've heard this story. They did something wrong. What the hell did they do wrong? Pride, apparently. I don't know. So if you have any idea, any explanation, like what does that even mean? Okay, so that's the first thing we're supposed to learn. Pride. Wait, we should not boast with our material powers. Okay. Number 2, Yahweh's purpose endures forever. So this is interesting, because what they explain is that every plan they mean God, formulates is inevitably implemented in spite of all efforts and devices of man. So the people will settle in all the earth. It's basically like, it doesn't matter what you want. If God had a plan for you that's different than what his plan was, or different than what your plan is, too bad, so sad. God's plan will ultimately win out, which makes sense, duh. Like if we're going from what these Bible authors say, God made all the things, he knows all the things, and so of course his plan. But again, it's like, doesn't God have like all the power? Why was he letting them build a tower? Does he just like shows up randomly? He was like, oh, look at this. There's a tower being built. Well, what is God doing in the meantime? What's he up to? Where he just like discovers a tower being built and people all having the same language. And then all of a sudden he gets really mad. I don't know. Anyway, apparently God's plan will always be implemented. Doesn't matter what you want. Number 3, this is the one that I'm like, oh, it's really dangerous. I'm laughing, but it's like kind of awful. Okay. Number 3, unity and peace are not ultimate goals in a sinful world. Better division than collective apostasy. This one, again, like a little bit I'm giggling because it's ridiculous how dangerous this is. This is basically saying, it gives a lot of it weaponizes these verses, right? It means that war, in order to have people become Christian, what's the word for that, right? Like to get people to understand that God is God and that we just need to obey him, that war and violence, division are fine tools to make that happen. That it's so important that we believe in God, that division and unity, or division is absolutely warranted, right? Super dangerous. And I guarantee a lot of problems are created by, and this is not the only verse, this is one of, I am certain, many verses that people take to believe to mean that it's better to fight, be violent, have war, be angry with each other in order to spread the word, spread the message, get people into the fold, versus peace and unity, right? If they're not believing in God, then that's not a good goal. Peace and unity, who cares? People don't believe in God. That's dangerous. So anyway, much shorter story than I at first realized. I don't know. I guess some of these are rewritten in other books. I don't know if this Tower of Babel is also written about in another book, but if this is it, it's pretty manini, pretty tiny little story that's basically like, what's up? We all are living together in a community. Let's build a big tower. God is like, no, no, no. And he destroys it and he scatters them through the land. I don't know. It just seems ridiculous to me. Anyway, Thanks for listening. We will do, I was going to do next time Noah's drunken nakedness, which is another short, sweet little story that is so bizarre and has a very strange message to it. So join me next week. We'll talk about Noah and his drunken nakedness. Okay. Bye, everyone. Talk to you all another day.